Magical record button is going. The hard drive is warmed up. Little quick countdown. In 3, 2, 1. Hello, the internet. Matthew here for another amazing episode of Something, Something, Something Creative. I have here today the gorgeous and vivacious and unbelievably talented Samantha Meserati. Darling, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
So she is an incredible artist, and because I say so. No, not just because I say so, but because she has won awards. She has had commissioned work by some very big and important and successful people. I don't know how many names we can drop here, but we will, hopefully. And she's just had an incredible journey. We've known each other for what? Massage school, 16 years?
So
15, 16?
16 years? I mean, let's see. I'm 35. I can't believe it. I met you when I was 18.
Yeah, you were like 18, 19. Yeah, when we were
Yeah.
in
So we know
class
each other
together.
for a long time. Yeah.
Yes. And then we've fallen out of touch and reconnected and everything else. And you've just had an incredible journey. And as we were talking about before you hit record, that's influenced your art. And I would love to dive into some of that, if you don't mind. Talk about your creative process, what you do with your art, all the incredible things. It is honestly amazing, amazing stuff, by the way.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So, it's hard to really go just what's my creative process, right? There's so much that has to happen for me.
Okay.
First of all, I have to be set up properly for
Mhm.
that. I suffer from scoliosis,
Mhm.
and I wake up in a lot of physical pain.
Mhm.
So before I do any of my artwork, I have to it takes me like a half an hour just to get my scoliosis brace on. I go through this whole thing that people don't even know about. I have compression socks. I have a full brace on. I have like my schmata on. I have to set up my whole workstation. I mean, it's like a real big to do when I'm in it. And it's very hard for me to be distracted.
Mhm.
So it has to be all about the artwork for the day. Like when I wake up in the morning, I have to do some type of meditation. I have to put some type of healthy thing into my body. I have to stretch. And then it's kind of like I'm ready for battle almost. I'm in the garage sometimes for 10 hours a day. Like it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. It's very draining.
Yes.
I'm just going to be totally honest with you. I go through a very wild roller coaster when I'm doing like a commission painting because I doubt myself and everything has to be perfect. And if it's not turning out the way that I hoped, I kind of get a little nasty and I'm
An
I have to take a step
emotional,
back.
an emotional artist? Really?
I'm so emotional. I'm like, oh, this sucks. And then all of a sudden you just keep going and it starts to come alive and you're like, okay. You put on a really good song and you're like, all right, we got this. Let's go. And then it starts to suck again. And you're like, oh my God. And then it's becoming great. And then when you go through all of these ranges of emotions, and then I'll put on like a spiritual leader, like I'm listening to Wayne Dyer.
Oh, yes, Dr. Dyer.
Yeah. So I'm listening to Wayne Dyer. So now I'm getting into this whole thing. So now I'm completely focused on the canvas,
Yes.
for hours. And then the next thing you know, it's like, whoa,
It's
like
there.
there it is.
Yeah.
There it is. So then I get really high off of that process. But it's draining. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
It's a draining thing. But that's kind of what I'm used to because my life has always kind of been that weird struggling and then I get high, right?
Well, that's, I know, is part of your journey, and I would
Yeah.
love to unbox that as much as you're willing to talk about.
Yeah. I'm born and raised in Queens, New York. Both of my parents graduated from FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City, and in the 70s. So it's just wild. Studio 54.
I was gonna say, that's all
party
the
scene.
context. That's all the context people need right there.
Yeah, exactly. But they're both hairdressers for over 40 years. And I grew up in a Queens hair salon. This is kind of like a combination of like the nanny,
Yep.
Fran
That's
Drescher, and like her mother at the beauty salon
right.
because it's in Queens. And then it was just kind of like Goodfellas, really, because we lived in Queens, and at that time it was, a little gangstery and a little bit of lots of drinking and alcohol and partying, and that's what I grew up in. I grew up in bars, and that's what I knew. You become kind of this product of your environment, and I was a gymnast my whole life, till I was like 13. And then I became a boxer and a diver, and I was very athletic.
I didn't
I
know
was always on what?
I didn't know about the diver.
Yeah, I dove for Queens College. And then, I had a lot of injury from all of this being active as a kid, and always very uncomfortable in my skin. And of course, like, you start drinking young, and you just go on that path because it's liquid courage, and
Yeah.
it's really a miracle when you have that drug in you and you are open up and your insecurities kind of melt away, and then it becomes medicine
Mm-hmm.
for you, right? It was like medicine for me in my 20s,
Mm-hmm.
and then it becomes madness. And that's when you have to make a decision, and you have to go, is this how I want to live my life? What do I want? What's the type of woman that I want to be?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I've broken my nose in 3 places. I've broken my femur. I've had major abdominal surgery. I've been through tons of trauma, physical trauma, mental trauma, emotional trauma. And so there's a point in life, and for me, I was about around 29, 30 years old. There was a point in my life where I was so tired of being tired, sick of being sick.
Yes.
And I had to really get uncomfortable and pull that plug, and sit with myself in a very sober light. And I had to get back to basics and relearn how to live. So doing that, and when you go through such a process like that,
Mm-hmm.
it's so powerful because nobody can take that away from you. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So my art, I've always been able to draw. I was always very creative as a child. In high school, I took art classes. I took a painting class. I realized, oh my God, I like this. I could paint.
Yeah.
So after that, I went to massage therapy school. That's where I met you.
Mm-hmm.
I then started working as a massage therapist for 4 years. And, I was always in the service business. That's kind of how I always felt. You know how that is.
Yeah.
And so then I went back to school for ultrasound. I've been in that field for 10 years with women's health.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been really fortunate to learn so much about women and how resilient they are, which has really helped me through my journey of being a woman and being strong.
Yeah. That's incredible. And this my whole brand is talking about the hero's journey and how it's never, it's a cycle, but it's never a straight line. It's never
right.
It's never an even cycle. It's all these ups and downs, and it's meant to be. And you're
Right.
describing it perfectly, by the way.
Really? Because I'm like kind of all over the place right now. Because I'm like,
No,
all right,
no,
so like I'm an
exactly
artist,
it.
but I have like all these other things that I've done,
Yes. Yes, and that's exactly it. And I think it's a great mirror for my audience to see how you're without using any fantastical language. You're talking all real world stuff because I can go on
Right.
tangents, but you're talking real world stuff and this incredible spiraling, not straight line, but it still brought you to where you are now. So how did you get back immersed into art and doing commission pieces?
Right. So I would probably paint something after high school. I'd probably do one painting every 2 years.
Okay.
Like I got inspired. I had a boyfriend. And then I'd paint something for him, I mean, I did something like that, right? Some of them are ruined now.
Sure.
Some of those paintings have been burned. No, so, you know, basically every time I would paint something, the reaction that people would give me was very weird to me, but it was amazing how people saw my artwork and how they really were like, wow, this is really good. Wow, this is really good. And I'm like, thanks. And it felt really good for me,
Yeah. It's that
that
dopamine
reaction.
kick.
It was a dopamine high for me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I ended up really changing my life when I hit 30. I hit a very, very intense spiritual shift. You had met me around that time.
Or we reconnected around that
We
point.
yes, I'm sorry. We reconnected around that time, and meaning you met me in the city.
That's right.
We were in
That
the
was a
city and we
great
had a nice
day.
day.
Well,
So
you're 30, and that's when we reconnected, and that's when I remember you were doing making your own food and smoothies and all this stuff. You were really like
yeah,
a
like
huge
there's
shift.
such greatness out
Yeah.
there that makes you feel like superwoman. You can do anything, really.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, so I hit this spiritual, shift, and basically a lot of people were saying, why don't you just continue to paint? And I thought, okay, that's a good idea, So I found a few things that were making me want to paint. They were just, even if it was like a Marilyn Monroe piece, or like if it was, I don't know, some famous person that I thought, that's a cool image. You
I
kind of just
love,
start out with image, and whatever inspired me at the time. That's the word I was looking for. Sorry. So
love your Christopher Walken, by the way. It's still one of
thank
my
you, thank you.
favorites.
Yeah, it's sold.
Of course it did.
I'm just kidding. I'm not kidding, but I'm kidding.
Yeah.
So anyway, I started painting,
Mhm.
and the next thing you know, I started kind of posting this painting journey
Mhm.
on social media, and people started messaging me, how much for that? How much would you like for that? And I'm going, I think I sold my first painting for $250, and it was like a really nice, piece. And I remember saying to myself, I can make $250 on a painting? That's amazing, you know?
Yeah.
So that little click, I went on a painting frenzy.
I
So I
remember.
was working, so I was working full time, and every free second that I got, I painted and painted and painted and painted. I would do like 60-hour commissions, like insane. I got all these commissions. So people just started calling me, hey, can you do a lawyer portrait? Can you do, and I'm like, I don't know. I guess I'm going to try it. And I did this portrait in a law firm. It's hanging up. Big, big lawyers, one of the biggest lawyers in Long Island, or the biggest lawyer in Long Island. I did his office, I did the 4 partners.
Yeah.
And then I had a couple of, art like shows in houses that were being sold, and Nest Seekers International then hired me to do stage an apartment. So you get big checks for that, and then you're like, I'm quitting my job. This is it, and I did that. I quit my job because I got,
That's the best part of the story.
yeah, it's like two big paychecks for me, and stupidly quit my job. So this is what happened, right? So 18 months, I had this spiritual shift. I'm sober. I'm on this like high of another ego that I created.
Yes.
And I'm painting and painting. People are loving my art and watching this journey and seeing this such a fast transition.
Mm-hmm.
And when you run fast like that, I got very manic. I got very, very manic. And I was running until I fell off a cliff. right? So quit my job now, haha. But now I have to continue to paint. So I decide, oh, now I have all this artwork ahead behind me that I just made. I'm doing an art show. So I quit my job. I have to sell art now. How am I going to sell art without my cocktail? How am I going to do it? Because I'm so used to being, networking myself with a drink in my hand.
Yeah. It's standard operating procedure in our society.
It's like, put a martini in my hand and I can lure a donkey. Okay. I can, please. So easy for me. So anyway, I ended up drinking again for a few months after that and realized that I have zero ambition to paint when I drink. I don't want to drink. I mean, I don't want to paint. I ended up smoking again. I quit. I was a smoker for 18 years as well. So I ended up going down on a downward spiral of depression. And that's what happened to me for the next 11 months after that. I was 32 years old, 32, 33, and I had to pick myself up again and really, really surrender to that change, to really work on loving myself and really understand it. It wasn't about painting. It was about how I feel, right? It was about liking myself and all those things. You can't go so off the edge. You have to ground yourself. How am I going to ground myself? How am I going to network? How am I going to sell? There's so much pressure if you want to become this artist, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I isolate myself when I'm feeling that way. And that's a good thing because I'm healing myself, right? And painting then began, I started looking at painting differently. I started looking at a healing technique for myself with art. All right. So I'm an empath.
Yeah.
When I'm out and about and I'm surrounded by a lot of people, my energy is all over the place. Yeah. Okay. This is very important for me to know because, I know why I'm feeling anxiety. I know why I'm feeling this way. I'm being triggered in certain ways with my anger, with all this negative stuff, right? So when I'm alone in my little space and I'm doing my artwork, and before I do my artwork, I meditate, I do breathing, I do stretching, and it's all about the art. Nothing else. That's it. I don't have a headache when I wake up. I don't have like a partner. I have the greatest partner ever. He doesn't make me try to be somebody I am. I don't have to clean. I don't have to do things for him. I just have to do things for me. So when I'm doing things for me and I'm excited, he's excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm very lucky in that way. But I'm very lucky that I figured that out for myself. Stress is the number one killer.
Yes.
You gotta know how to relax your body.
So much there that you've said. And by the way, thank you for being open and vulnerable and honest and telling that story, that incredible story of how you've gotten here. And again, it's not a straight line. And that's what people have to realize. Success in anything is never a direct start to finish, cause and effect. There's lots of ups and downs. And that's what the hero's journey really shows is there's loss. And then the hero, when it goes in for atonement with the father, to me, at least I've just kind of come out of it not that long ago in my second round. It's worse than shoot, my brain just suddenly stopped working for a second.
Wait.
And that doesn't the road of trials phase literally just went out of my head. I had to look at my wallpaper. The atonement, like that second round of the darkness where you really have to go into yourself. and you
Mhm.
really have to explore, and you really have to dredge up stuff. You're like, oh no, I'm good. I got that ego shit handled. Or my
Mhm.
ego and I didn't kill my ego. We're good pals. We're good pals.
Mhm.
Goes even deeper than that. And you really just drew that out, and I really appreciate it. And I want to say
Mhm.
thank you on behalf of everyone who just got to listen to
Yeah. The ego will set you up for success and failure in the same road. I mean,
that.
you have to be careful with that. I have to. I'm sorry, not talking for anybody else, talking for myself.
Yes.
I have to be careful with my ego, right? I wake up in fear, in doubt, in pain, in all this stuff. So, how am I going to shift my thinking in order to be a normal person for the day and feel good about myself? Change your thoughts, change your life, period. Change your thoughts, change your life. That's it,
That's a
you
great
know?
topic for this interview, by the way.
So now we can talk about my art.
Well, let's talk about your art.
Now you can like see how, because I want people to understand that I'm not a trained artist, I'm not in like a fine art, like I don't know, it's like it's almost like looking at somebody that's a trained musician, that's like perfect at the violin and an orchestra, and then you look at Metallica, you
Yeah,
know, it's different, raw talent, and then you have someone that's like really, reads music.
right.
um I'm still learning. I'm still learning everything. I'm learning about paint. I'm learning about brushes. I'm learning about oils now. I mean, there's so much I don't know, but I paint from inside. That's that that's what I think people enjoy about my art. And I love how people feel when they see my art. That's the only reason why I'm painting. Is you just push people going, wow, huh, you're inspiring me to do something now, you know?
I agree.
Um,
Evoc-
yeah.
I always say when people describe art and they use the word evocative, it's like the most pretentious term I can imagine to be associated with art.
Mhm.
But I look at your art, and that's really honestly the first word that comes to mind. Evocative. It's evocative. But there really is. There's so much, and I love your use of color. And here's the thing: I'm not. I mean, I'm not like a great, person to really critique art.
Me either.
Well, okay, good. Would you say it's like postmodernist or modernist,
Nice.
kind of impressionist, kind of something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can say
Okay.
that.
And that's
Sure.
normally, and I will say that's normally not the thing I gravitate towards. I love
Mhm.
more, like classical kind of art, or even
Mhm.
some of the more like existentialist, impressionist kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Like Dali and everybody in that like kind of realm. But yours really does, and the way you say you paint from the inside out, it's obvious. I want to say that it's
Mhm.
very obvious, and I
Mhm.
love
Mhm.
that. And now let me ask you this: does it kind of feel like you're more exposed in painting than in speaking?
Yeah. So I think also when I post my art, because clearly right now we're in a pandemic. I'm really have an online gallery at this point.
No.
Um, look, a lot of people have been through what I've been through. A lot of people find sober journeys. A lot of people find, you know, different shifts in their life, and it's very powerful. That small little shift, movies become obsessed with, people become obsessed with just understanding that little shift, right? The story's been told.
Hmm.
The artwork, on the other hand, I get very nervous and almost self-doubting before I'm posting something.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know, is this good? Like I'll turn to Steve, which is my fiance. He'd be like, yeah, it's great. Good. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, do you like it? 100 times. He's like, Samantha, come on.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. I can't even see it anymore. It's like you paint it. Sometimes you can't even see it anymore. You need a bunch of eyes to like really look at it. So yeah, I get shy. I get weird. It is very exposing for me
Okay.
because I put so much energy into it. I just recently, another interview with Authority magazine is coming out soon, And there was a question that was like, what's, 5 things you wish somebody would have told you before you started doing this career? And it was like, I wish somebody would have told me to paint like with love. Like, some people get very emotionally attached to their art.
Right.
You want to basically pretend like you're sending love out. Like, this is my love on canvas and I'm giving it away. That's what I do. So it gets very like, like, oh.
But see, you now speak of love in I think a much better context, because when people think of love, they think of like jealousy and possessiveness. Like people, like the way I talk about my ex and I, we have a great relationship, a great friendship now, and they say it doesn't really bother you. She's married to another man and whatever, and I'm like, no, because I never was very possessive that way. And you're
Okay.
speaking about your art in the same way, because artists can, people can get very possessive over it. It's my
Right.
idea and everything else. It's my baby.
Hmm.
And but yet you're talking about it in the way that you're supposed to be willing to open and release.
Hmm.
You're reminding me of Jason Silva, who has
Hmm.
those shots of awe. You're really kind of expressing that when you're talking about love in your artwork, and I think it's a beautiful thing, by the way.
Yeah, because everything should be like with love. You know what I mean? It helps me. I mean, it just helps my insides. I have a heart collection that I'm still working on, but I have 2 paintings of hearts
Hmm.
because of that, and it's just kind of like my heart and I'm giving it, you know?
I I do.
It's
That's beautiful.
yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they're crazy kooky hearts, but that's my heart.
No, I love that so much, because I'm very, I write. I'm a writer, so
Uh-huh.
it's a very, my creativity is very intellectual.
Right.
So it's been really good for me to get on this, to be doing the series. And again, thank you for your time, because it's given me a chance to really reflect to people who are a lot more emotive in their expression. And you're like the cherry on top of
Yes,
the
I
best interview.
see you see more like in words, I see in color,
Yeah.
right? I like to express myself in colorful depths, if
Yes.
you can say. What color is going to look nice over this color? How is this going to like really just flutter my eyes? How is it going to flutter my insides? And that's just kind of how I paint, you know?
And yes, I think you that comes through perfectly. It's very evocative.
Yeah, very evocative, very cute.
So everybody has to make sure that you are following her. I'm going to be dropping the Instagram. I'm going to be dropping
Yes,
the
please.
website. Everything is going to be in the YouTube description. I'm going to constantly be putting little captions down here for everyone to go make sure they are following you and checking you out. And anybody who wants a commission, obviously she does commission work. Before we wrap up all together, I want to ask you one question that I ask everybody.
Okay.
There is somebody right now, a young lady, a young man, who is not sure if they're really going to do it, if they're not going to really release their art, or they're thinking about it, maybe they're inhibited, whatever. What would you tell someone who wants to get started and doesn't know what to do?
You have to paint or do your artwork or however what creative outlet you're doing. Do it every day. To make it part of your routine. Do it every day, but don't burn yourself out in the sense of stay healthy. I
Okay.
would say, right, try to find that balance. You're not going to find it in the beginning. You're going to like kill yourself a little bit and you're going to doubt yourself, but that's the part of the process. So if you're feeling that way, just know that you're on the right path and just continue it. Because trust me, when I can paint stick figures. If I had that same drive, the guts, this stick figure is it. If you continue to just drive with that, people see the drive. People see it inside of you. So keep the passion going. Let it go. Let it flow. That's what I say.
That
All about that.
is amazing, and the perfect way to end this. Samantha, thank you so much.
Thank you for
I really
interviewing me.
appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, hon.
So good to see you.
You too, and I would love to do this again. I'd love to catch up with you later at a
Sure.
future date, because I have to be honest, I always saw a lot of success in your future, and I see even more success now. And you've grown so much since I've met you, since I've known you. And kudos to you, props to you, all the blessings of all the gods to you and to your new life in wedded bliss with your wonderful fiance.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
It's
you
exciting.
guys, it is in order. Follow Samantha, check out our website. For Matt and Sam, this has been another incredible episode of Something, Something, Something Creative. Thanks for checking us out. Catch you on the next.
Thank you. See
Take
ya.
care. Bye.
Bye.